Welcome back to another episode of the Body Buddies podcast. This is episode number 194, Simple Delicious Salad Dressings with Chef James Barry.
Welcome to Body Buddies, home of the Power Foods lifestyle. Take it one meal, one workout, one day at a time. And now, here's the founder of Body Buddies, Christy Joe.
In case we haven't met before, my name is Christy Joe. I am a mind and body strategist who helps you bridge the gap between the science of optimality in nutrition and fitness and the reality of your day-to-day life and psychology. If you want to lose weight, feel better, blast through brain fog, increase your energy, see some muscle definition, soothe digestive distress, and gain a more healthy relationship with your body and food, you are in the right place. You can find me on Facebook and YouTube as Body Buddies or Instagram as Bod Buds. Today's episode is brought to you by the Power Foods Lifestyle Starter Kit. Nope, it's not another diet. The Power Foods Lifestyle's real-life approach helps you become a strategist of your own health using science, psychological tactics, and practical application techniques. You will not need to kiss your favorite foods goodbye, but you will start learning how food works in your body. You'll begin to tweak the way you construct meals. You'll learn how to balance your blood sugar. And most importantly, you will learn how to accept yourself for not being perfect and commit to the journey. It's messy, but you gotta keep going. Start your Body Buddies journey today with the Power Foods Lifestyle Starter Kit. So what's inside the starter kit? The paperback copy of the Power Foods Lifestyle, personally signed by me, the audiobook digital files so you can listen while you clean up, drive, cook, or do tasks around the house. My 3 PDF printable recipe books with over 150 delicious, simple, and totally easy recipes that even the most novice cook can enjoy. 6 sample Power Foods Lifestyle fat loss meal plans for women, the Power Foods shopping list, and the food prep planner. Now, if you were just to buy the copy of the paperback book on Amazon, that would run you about $22. The starter kit is only $37, which is going to save you over 60% of what you would pay if you were to buy all of these products separately. So I've put them all together, everything you need to really get this self-study journey started. This is the best way to get started and learning, whether you're ready to start with coaching now or ready to do the academy. This is the best place to get started. You do have what it takes to power your mind and body. Let Body Buddies and the Power Foods Lifestyle be your next path of progression into a sustainable lifestyle change. I'm super excited to bring to you guys this interview that I had with Chef James Barry. He had many years as a private chef. He's cooked for celebrities. He's traveled, been on tours, cooked internationally, helped with all these school districts, nutrition network programs. He's a graduate of the Natural Gourmet Institute in New York City, and he went on to receive certification as a nutritional consultant through the Global College of Natural Medicine as a certified healing food specialist with immunutrition. He has co-authored the recipes in Margaret Floyd's book, Eat Naked, and co-authored the follow-up cookbook, The Naked Foods Cookbook. We will hear a lot from him today about salad dressings and about those things that will help us gain even more of a perspective into our food and into the things that we do each day. So at this beginning of the interview, he's going to tell you and give you a little bit more background on himself, which is super cool. So I think we'll just dive right in and appreciate his time with us. Do encourage you to click on your show notes and head over and check out his information, their cookbooks, and so forth. We love bringing on these guests to the Body Buddies show and love to spread the love and ask that you do the same and give them a shout out, let them know you listened. And that's the fun thing about this social media world is that it's very easy to have a conversation and to say, thank you, I appreciate what you said about XYZ. So I know as someone who I am always on podcasts that it's always nice to get feedback from listeners. And so I would love to have any of our Body Buddies audience pass that on to Chef James. All right, here's the interview. Welcome to the Body Buddies podcast. Chef James, we are so lucky to have you here today. How's your day going?
Doing well. Thank you so much, Christy Jo.
We are here to talk about some helpful things, not only with amazing and delicious and simple ways to create salad dressings, but we're also going to dive into some other areas that are helpful for our listeners today. Why don't you give us a little background on yourself?
can I call you chef, or is there some French way to say that, or I don't know what's the right name to call you?
I have a funny story about that. A lot of people call me Chef James, but I do have a funny story about that. I was cooking for this celebrity client in Germany while he was shooting a film, and I was on the set with him and with the crew, and some of the people came up to me and they said, "You're the chef? I don't understand." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean? I'm the chef." Yeah. He's like, "The chef, really?" He's like, "In German, that means you're the boss. So you're the boss of this actor?" Like, they didn't understand that I was actually the culinary. I'm like, no, I just cook food.
You're like, heck yeah, I am. Go back to work, dude.
Yeah, I'm the boss of this, this A-list actor. Yeah. No.
That's great.
But yes, background is I always loved cooking. Loved it as a kid. One of the first things I learned to do is scramble an egg. I think it was around age 7. But I never saw it as a career because I don't know. For some reason in my my 15-year-old self, I thought, oh well, if you want to cook, you have to own a restaurant. You have to work late nights, and I'm like, I just didn't want to do that. I don't know how I knew that at that age, but I just said, oh, I don't want to do that. And then I went about and focused on other things, and then around my late 20s, I realized that I still really loved cooking, and I only wanted to do things that I was passionate about. And so I looked into it. I was already kind of focusing on healthy cooking, taking kind of standard food and trying to healthify it. And I found a school in New York called the Natural Gourmet Institute, and it looked like exactly what I wanted. And I knew I didn't want to work in a restaurant. I knew I wanted to work with individuals, and private chef, and this school was known for having really good connections around that. So I went to that school, and this was about 15 years ago, and it was magical. I was so all in. A lot of the kids that were there were not as consistent as I was. I showed up every day, ready to go, and I was I tried to do everything I could because I was just so hungry for the knowledge. And
you knew what you wanted. I love that. Hungry. You were hungry. It's a good thing you're in the right field.
Hungry. Totally. And so, and then everything just took off from there. I mean, it was very much that, law of attraction, do the things you love, and then bounty comes. And I had an amazing response to going to culinary school, and it's been a wonderful ride since then. But I went from private chefing to I toured on the Vans Warped Tour, and at the time I was focusing on vegan vegetarian food, and so I was a vegan vegetarian chef. And then I've done abroad cooking with clients. I've taught.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating.
Yeah, that was fun. I've taught in inner city schools. I've taught to kids that didn't have those opportunities, and that was actually fascinating. Going into some of these neighborhoods, and I would bring in like local farmers market produce, and no joke, I mean, some of these kids had not even seen an asparagus before. So I brought in asparagus, and I'd say, because I always loved teaching kids with asparagus, because it's one of the vegetables that the minute you eat it, it as it leaves your body. And and it's always a fun one for kids because since they love pee and poop, so
they love those words.
So you can just focus on the pee and say, oh well, you're going to smell it when you go pee next. But most of the kids, they had never even seen asparagus, so that was a really rare experience where I was getting to support kids, towards introducing them to new things. And then I started my own business in Los Angeles. It was a meal delivery service, just to try to put my reach to support even more people. So it's been quite the journey.
Yes, you have been busy, and you have been about doing what you want to do, having passion, which is super admirable in this world, because so many they think they want things, they say they want things, but then they go the comfortable way and they don't go blaze that path. So that's super inspirational just on that level. How, I mean, have you always been really aware of health, or were there times during this journey that, you know, you see a lot of these food shows and I sit there and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? And like, we're applauding these types of foods that they're building, and I'm sickened over here as a nutritionist. You know, have you ever been sucked into that, or has health always been a part of this cooking journey?
I love that you just said that, because I so agree. I've worked with some of these people that are touted as healthy chefs, and I used to do some. I used to assist a woman who did what's it called, food styling on TV shows, and so we would. These celebrity chefs would come in and they would be doing their healthy line of food, and we were the ones that prepared all the food in all the different stages, so that when they came on, it was where the segment, you know, the TV show needed it to be. And I was always laughing. I'm like, because I would meet the chefs and I'm like, you don't know anything about health. Like, you have no clue. And you're doing these things and they're just not healthy. And I think that what you're articulating is something that I have found, is that most people assume, oh, you're a chef, then you know food, but it's just like a doctor, right? Like, doctors don't know nutrition.
No,
most
absolutely.
chefs don't know how to cook food in a nutritious way.
Yes.
And so I love that you just said that, because but so my journey, you know, similar to most health practitioners, I find that most health practitioners start from a place. There's a reason why they went down the healthy field. It's because they got sick, or they know someone that got sick. Something kind of, you know, steered them in that direction. And for me, I didn't necessarily get sick, but I did have a situation happen that made me aware of how a food affects my body, and that was really revolutionary. It was post-college. I was just literally the summer after I graduated from college. I was back east in this program, and I got a kidney stone. And I had never had anything like that before, and I was baffled by it. I didn't really truly even understand why I had gotten one. And when I passed it, and for those out there listening who have not had a kidney stone, a kidney stone is probably the closest a man can experience to having a child. That's how painful it is. And it's still not even close. If that, you know, power to all the women that are having kids out there, because it hurts, obviously, but this is painful. I passed it, and then they take it to a lab, and they just make sure it's malignant, or it's not nothing that's going to come back. And what they told me was, they said, oh, it was nutritional based kidney stone. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, what were you eating? You know, you've been eating. And I said, oh, well, during my last quarter of school with all the final stuff, I was eating, you know, pizza and drinking root beer every day. And they're like, oh yeah, well, it's because you weren't drinking enough water. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm like, you know, so what I eat and what I drink actually affects my body? Like, what? Like, that
first insight moment is like, what?
Yeah. I mean, from that moment on, then I started carrying water around. I never even carried water around with me. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, everyone, I think, has that moment, and for me, that's what it was. And so I think that was the pinnacle where I just started to rethink, like, well, what is food, and what is it I'm actually putting in my body? And you know, and then it wasn't a fast process. It was a very slow process. You know, it took me, you know, I was 19, 20 at that time, and so it took me another 10 years to really continue to delve into, well, what is healthy food? What makes it healthy? Because of course there's that stereotype, which I'm sure you face every day with clients and your audience is well, everyone thinks healthy is, you know, grilled chicken breast, steamed vegetables. And I think that's such a limited kind of 80s view of what health is. And
I love that you said that. Yeah, it's very rudimentary. You know, it's like, for some reason we've come to believe that's the epitome of health, and it's a very small crack in this huge window of possibility. Yeah.
If for some reason, like 30 plus years later, it's still held, that image is still in people's minds. And it's like, oh, it's healthy food is so much more than that, and it doesn't have to be boring, and it doesn't have to be bland. It's like there's so many things you can do.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, let's segue that into. So, what can we do if we're like, okay, we get it, Chef James and Christy Joe, we get it. Let's give us some solutions. Where would be the first place that we could start having some simple, tasty change-ups to our food? Do we want to go first with salad dressings, or do you have other things you'd like to start with?
Well, I actually think, I think, okay, first thing I would say is do what I learned, which is make sure you're drinking lots of water. If you look at your day and you see that you're either hardly drinking, which most of us, including myself, still are probably more dehydrated than we realize. So I still struggle with making sure that I'm drinking enough water every day.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think you're someone that's drinking enough, I would reevaluate. And I don't know how you tell people to drink water, but what we normally do is we say, okay, you take, your body weight and you divide it by 2, and then that's the number of ounces you should be drinking in water. So if you're 200 pounds, you should be drinking about 100 ounces of water a day.
Great.
That's how we typically do it. So just to keep it as simple. And then what I normally do is I try to get a bottle that I can use, because you don't want to be thinking about cups, and like, oh, did I drink enough cups? Because most cups are way bigger than the 8 cup or the 8 ounce serving.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Agreed.
So I usually I get like a water bottle that's, let's say 30 ounces or something. So then I know, okay, I need to drink 3.5 of these a day or whatever, or I get a 20 ounce one. But I use if you get, let's say, a 20 ounce one and you're having to drink 100, then you've got to fill this at least 5 times in the day. So it's just something that your headiness out of it, something that's very visual, something that's very easy for you to follow. I would say that's the first thing. And then I would segue into, salad dressings and the things that we're buying in the store that have a lot of hidden calories. And when I say hidden calories, I'm talking sugar. When hidden sugars, bad oils, these things that are actually causing a lot of havoc in our body that we're just not aware that that's what they're doing, because we think to ourselves, oh, well, we're having a salad, so it's got to be healthy, and I'm pouring, this salad dressing in the store on it, so it's got to be fine, right? At least eating a salad, but it's like, no, you just made that salad extremely unhealthy. If you're choosing a salad dressing with poor oils and sugar or sweeteners in it, and I always recommend, if we can, to start with the simplest things. And to me, salad dressings, if you can just, bear with me to readjust the story you may have, like the listener may have, around what's easy and what's hard in the kitchen. I think you'll find after this segment that salad dressings can be really, really simple. And I'll expand on that now. Like so, my wife is a functional nutritionist. Her name is Margaret Floyd-Berry, and so we have a site called Eat Like It Now, and we have a cookbook called the Naked Foods Cookbook. And in that cookbook, we have about 10 recipes. And what they are, they're all we have tons of recipes, but they're 10 recipes specifically around salad dressing. And they are mason jar dressings. And that's one of the ways I love to demo and show people how to do salad dressings is you can simply use a mason jar, or any kind of jar that has a lid. And what you do is you think of it as the ratio that we pretty much follow in the U.S. is 3-to-1. So that's what you want to think of your salad dressing. It's 3-to-1. So 3-to-1 is the 3 is oil and the 1 is like a vinegar or lemon juice or some kind of acidic liquid. So So the 3 could be like, and this can be simply, you don't even have to think too hard about this. I mean, you could, let's say you have a shot glass, let's say you don't have any measuring, cups or spoons, and all you have is a shot glass. We'll just use the shot glass as your measuring. So 3 things of olive oil, and ideally you're choosing extra virgin olive oil because that means it's completely unprocessed and clean. And you fill that shot glass 3 times, put that in the mason jar, and then fill it 1 time with the vinegar or the acid of your choice. Like, let's just keep it simple and say balsamic vinegar, okay? So then you fill that shot glass once with balsamic vinegar, pour that in the mason jar, and just shake it. Literally put the lid on there and shake it. And that's it. You have the most basic balsamic vinaigrette there is on the market. But you also just made it in 3 minutes or less. It took you you did it faster than it would have taken you to go to the store and to do it. And I promise you, just those 2 ingredients. Now, of course, you can add some salt and a little pepper to kind of balance the taste out. But just those 2 ingredients are going to feel fresher, and your body is going to receive it easier than you would that store-bought dressing with the processed and shelf-stable, And
that feeling of knowing when they're probably listening to you and having that confidence that what they are using is high quality. There's so much more to be said for that confidence to now make another great decision as well. And so that's generating that confidence in them by you giving them that information. I love that.
And you'll find too that we were talking about earlier about how people perceive health, right? And a lot of people think of healthy food as bland and as plain. Well, I find when I ask people, well, why don't you like vegetables, or why don't you eat more vegetables? I think there's a statistic I posted on our website, or I think it was on our Facebook page, and it was something like only 9. This was from 2015. Only 9% of the people out there eat a proper portion of veggies, in their day. 9%. So that means a lot of people are not eating their vegetables. And I ask people that. I'm like, well, why aren't you eating your vegetables? And most people say because they're gross. I find that they were raised in a way where they were either overcooked or they were drenched in something that was just not flavorful. So they have this kind of concept of it not being tasty. And I think just starting with the salad dressings, you'll find that an actual salad tastes better when you're controlling the quality of the ingredients. The quality of the ingredients makes it taste better.
Yeah. I love that.
Just that simple change will possibly inspire you to actually eat more salads. Because if we're not eating it, we're not benefiting from it. And so that's always whatever we can do to get you to eat it. And now I've even gotten to the point, because I didn't eat salads as a kid, but I love them now. It's one of my favorite meals now.
Great.
And what I do now, even I've gotten to the point where I can simply just drizzle some olive oil on there and then squeeze some lemon, and I'm happy. It tastes really good
incredible.
to me.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah, right. And then something I also do, and you can add these things as you get comfortable with working with the ingredients, but then you put a little cracked pepper on there if you want, or even something I love is smoked salt. So I get this really good salt that's been smoked, and it just adds this flavor. You literally just sprinkle a little bit over the salad with just lemon and olive oil, and it's so good. It just hits flavors, and it's so simple. And so there's all these little things you can do that I think can open up your entire world around what's possible around health and vegetables, and move people away from all the preservatives and the poor oils and the sugars and the added sweeteners that are in a lot of these bottled dressings that you find on the grocery store aisles.
Yes.
Are you bloated, constipated, experiencing brain fog, frequent trips to the restroom, or suffering from abdominal pain? If so, the Body Buddies 10-Day Power Foods Detox is for you. This simple-to-follow program will tell you what to eat in 3 phases. You'll get my complete grocery list, meal construction examples, totally acceptable treats recipes, 10-minute body weight workouts, 5 bonus areas of life to detox each day, and a private Facebook group for questions and support for only $14. Go to powerfoodsdetox.com to get all the details and start feeling better today. Again, that's www.powerfoodsdetox.com.
What do you think maybe 3 to 5 products that would be really good to keep in our homes would be, because I've heard you talk about olive oil, heard you talk about balsamic and lemons. What would be some of those other things to have on hand?
So for salad dressing specifically, or just in general?
Yeah, salad dressings and salads and veggies and things like that.
Okay, yeah. So I would definitely say extra virgin olive oil, and make sure the bottle is dark. You don't want light, these light glass bottles. And also, this is one of those scenarios for me with oils. I don't normally abide by this, so bear with me, but a lot of times people think that if something's more expensive, then it's better. That's not usually the case with most things, but with olive oils, it is true. If you don't want to buy olive oil that's cheap, because most likely if it's cheap, there's something that's been done to it, or it's cheap for a reason. And it's usually around quality. So olive oil is one where I always recommend, if you can afford it, go high and make sure it's extra virgin olive oil, because it's probably extremely good. With the more you're paying. So I would say extra virgin olive oil. I like to also have coconut oil on hand, because I like to cook with coconut oil a lot. I also cook with ghee. But specifically around salad dressings, I would say extra virgin olive oil. I do like balsamic vinegar, and that's another one where the cheaper the balsamic vinegar, that means they're cutting corners with it. So you do want to go a little bit more expensive with it, because that's going to be a higher quality balsamic. Lemons, I love having lemons around, or limes, whatever your choice is. Sometimes during the year it's harder to get lemons, it's easier to get limes, vice versa. But I do love using lemon juice. And a lot of people, I'm sure you tell this to your clients, a lot of people think, oh, it's acidic, and, if I have acid reflux or it causes acidity, it's like, no, it's acidic outside your body, inside your body it's alkaline. So
thank you for reiterating that.
Yeah, it's
always great to hear from another source.
Yeah, so really, really good thing to use. And then a good quality sea salt or salt. Like I said, I like the smoked salt. I also like, this is an ingredient that I do like to have on hand, because it's so nice in salad dressings, is a miso, a mellow. I use like a yellow mellow miso. I think I like Miso Master is the brand I typically get, but whatever you can find. But I love having a miso on hand in the refrigerator, because it adds a natural sweetness if you are wanting the dressing to have just be a little sweeter, and then that way you don't have to add any sugar or anything like that.
What a great idea.
Yeah, and if someone is sensitive to soy, they have miso that's made with chickpeas. So it depends on whatever your needs are. But I get the mellow one, which is slightly sweeter and it's not as sharp as some of the others. And it's fermented, so it's a better, there's a lot of stuff around soy out there, and you do have to be careful, but fermented soy is much, much better, as I'm sure you know, than unfermented. And those are probably the four. So what I mentioned, the oils, the vinegar, the lemon, salt, and the miso. Those are probably the 5 ingredients that are my go-to. I mean, and I do like to have sometimes a good mustard on hand, because balsamic, like that balsamic dressing I mentioned, like if you just added a little dab of like a mustard, that adds kind of a Dijon mustard, that adds a whole nother flavor profile to the dressing. So there's little tricks you can do to add, and a lot of these recipes are in the Naked Foods Cookbook if people are curious.
Yeah, and we'll definitely have a link to that in our show notes. So if you guys are listening on your smartphone, just tap your screen and scroll down to the show notes, and you'll find the link right there. So I'm curious about this whole sweeten thing with the miso. Do you ever add anything? Because there's so much out there, people putting information out there about like monk fruit sweetener, or would you rather just use raw honey or stevia? Like, what are your feelings around those things? I'll just tell you briefly, for my demographic being so broad, some of them are dealing with health issues. Others are, somewhat healthy, and we're just trying to work on aesthetics. So pretty vast audience, mostly women out there, but just needing to my whole thing is I help them strategize what's right for them. And so how can you add to that conversation of the sweeteners, or do you just stay away from all of those?
No, great question. I've actually been delving a lot more into the monk fruit sweeteners and stevias, mostly because I've been kind of eating more and more where I'm not using sweeteners.
Okay.
And so using and trying to use sweeteners that don't affect your blood your blood sugar. The thing with all of them though, and I don't know how much of this research you've delved into, but it's like none of it is necessarily, because there's even stuff around stevia, that despite it's not affecting your glycemic levels, but it is supposedly still triggering some insulin responses, So there's nothing I've found that is truly like, oh yes, everyone.
There's no freebies.
Yeah, right. There's literally no freebies. So what I try to do is I try to. Let me say this. So if you go to a restaurant and they're giving you salad dressing, you're basically going to be in two situations. One is it's going to be a bottled dressing that they purchased from a restaurant depot. And most restaurants, even restaurants you think, or Cisco or something, one of these major food purveyors. Now, a lot of people don't realize is that even though you're going to a restaurant, like we used to live in Los Angeles, and when I had my business in Los Angeles, I would sometimes go to these restaurant depots. Now, I wasn't necessarily buying food there all the time. I was getting like food containers, right? But I would see the carts of all the restaurants, and they were like, these were restaurants I had these were upper scale restaurants all the way down to lower scale restaurants. It was all the entire spectrum. They were all buying food from this location. And I thought to myself, wow, that's so fascinating. So we're all eating at all these different restaurants, and we're thinking that our food source is so eclectic, but actually it's not. It's all coming from the same place. So that's something to be aware of, is when you go to a restaurant, you're in two situations. You're either getting it bottled, they bought it bottled and now they're just serving it to you, or they're making it in-house. But I guarantee in both of those situations, it has some kind of sweetener in it, and it's usually sugar, because most people don't know how to make dressings. And particularly when you're making a humongous batch like you are at a restaurant, it will go too tart or too bitter. And the only way to pull out a bitter is to add sweetener. So that is how the cooks the people in the kitchen, the culinary staff in the kitchen, are taught to make the dressing better, is to just add sugar. So it's really, really challenging to eat out and to not get kind of sweetener. So that's why I try to create situations where I don't need it. So even when you're doing, if you follow that ratio of the dressing, you won't need to add the sweetener, because particularly balsamic vinegar is sweet, and particularly if you're spending good money on an aged balsamic, it's already going to be sweet. So you just choose certain things that are going to already be sweeter. Now, let's just say you are in a situation where you do have to add some kind of sweetener. I say always go for whole foods first. So what I would do is you take a date, which is a dried fruit, right? A date. Just blend that into the dressing first. Would be my vote. Now, you are going to experience a glycemic, that is
a little spike from that sugar.
Yeah. But so then what you can also do is you got to keep in mind fat is what counteracts that, right? So because you're using really high quality fat, you're counteracting that. Or if you really wanted to, and this is something I do even more so, and this does require a higher powered, but what I do, and I do this for more things than not these days, is I'm all about how can I get as much veggies into my meal as possible. So I actually use tons of vegetables in my dressings now. So I have a Vitamix, right? So I'll put the Vitamix there. I'll throw in carrots. I'll throw in parsley. I'll throw in my lemon juice. I'll throw in sometimes spinach. What other vegetables? I'm trying to think. I'll throw in a bunch of basil. I'll throw in a bunch of different herbs and almost kind of make it like a pesto dressing. But I try to pump it full of vegetables, and I use the vegetables as the fiber. Because it's not a juice, it's the vegetable. So, and if you know anything with the if the audience out there knows anything about your blood glycemic levels, is how to counteract it is fiber and fat. So if you're adding those to your dressing, and then you do a little bit, you add a date or even a tiny bit of stevia, you're not going to feel the effects of that too strongly.
Wonderful. That's a great idea. I never would have thought of putting all the vegetables possible into the dressing. Do you ever work with people? Do you ever work with people who are just like, I just love the taste of, all the originals, like Italian or Thousand Island or ranch or blue cheese? And do you have any tricks for making those happen in a healthier way?
Well, fortunately, we have the internet, and I don't say that lightly. Like, there is someone out there, and I have found that there's someone out there that has done a recipe already and it's a recreation of Thousand Island dressing, but it's healthier, or it's vegan or something like that, and so they're doing it differently. So sometimes when I have clients that are they have very specific kind of tastes like that, I will go on the internet and I will find like the top 5 versions of someone trying to recreate Thousand Island dressing, and then I will kind of use those as markers for or ideas for where I want to take it. But a lot of times you'll find that there's it's certain flavor profiles. So like the umami flavor is found in a lot of dressings that people don't realize, and so you can get the umami flavor from I use what is it called? Well, there's an umami. I think it's called an umami plum. So there's like this plum vinegar. It's this Japanese plum vinegar. Like you can use a little bit of that, or you can use the plum paste, and you'll find these in the Asian aisle. And I'm sorry, I'm not giving this specific name, but
that's
you'll
okay.
see what I'm talking about. When the aisle, it's very limited of what they'll have. And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Just look for some kind of plum vinegar. It's going to have plum in it, and there's no added sugar in it. It's like this plum. It's just a fermented. They ferment it and they make a paste from it, and it gives you that umami. Or you can use tamari, which is the gluten-free version of soy sauce. There's lots of things you can add to provide. So like for example, I think Worcestershire sauce is, I think that's in Thousand Island dressing. I can't remember if that's the one. But if you just find that one ingredient that's providing that flavor, you'll find that that's the flavor you're getting from whatever it is. You just have to mimic that one ingredient, because it's fun. We think it's the entire dressing, but it's usually one ingredient that's supplying our taste with that kind of pop or whatever the addiction factor.
Right.
But what I also find, and this is kind of interesting, and hopefully your audience will go with me on this, I find a lot of us have taste buds that are blown. That we've been eating so much processed foods that, and all processed foods are going to be extreme. They're either going to be extremely salty or extremely sweet. And that's why, for example, when you eat a bag of chips, you taste the first couple chips, but then you can't taste anything else. From that point on, it's just the crunch that you're getting the addiction from, or the satisfaction from. It's not the flavor, because you can't taste anything anymore. And it's because your taste buds are blown by the extremities of the ingredients. So what I tell people is, I said, like, I hear that you love Thousand Island dressing or this Hidden Valley Ranch, whatever it is. But what you may be really loving is purely just that extremity of the ingredient, because your taste buds don't remember. Your body doesn't remember what real food tastes like anymore. So I always say, if you're willing to go with me here, like, try to keep it simple for just even a week. Literally, just try to keep it simple so that you can give your taste buds a break. And what happens, and when I say simple, I simply like doing the lemon juice and the olive oil, or something very, very basic and simple. What you find is, after that week of having very kind of simple flavors and nothing extreme, nothing processed, that your taste buds recalibrate, and suddenly you can taste things accurately but also better. So everything starts to taste better. So the hopefully organic produce you're buying, suddenly you start to taste the sweetness that's naturally in the produce.
That
but you need
is
to
such a. So you're saying a
say,
week though? A week is usually what helps them get used to that change.
Well, ideally 2 weeks, but I even say give it 3, 4, 5 days. I mean, do whatever you can, but I promise you, just give your taste buds a break. That's really what I'm saying. So just give them a break, and you'll from the processed extreme ingredient foods, because you'll find that you actually can taste more later on if you do that, and that foods that you used to think were really good are really not that good, and because your taste buds have recalibrated. Now, actually, I have a story. I have an example. Is I was hired many years ago to work with this group who was starting a restaurant, and part of our process of doing that was they took me around to all the restaurants that were the benchmarks for what they wanted to create. So these were restaurants that had food that they thought was at the top of that flavor profile. And I remember they took me to this one place, and I don't name the names because I don't want to bash anyone, but they took me, it was in Long Beach. They took me to this place in Long Beach, and they said, you have to taste this food. It's amazing. And I tasted it, and I was like, really? Like, this is what you think is amazing? I said, because I can taste the rancid oil. I can taste this. I can taste that. Like, I was naming all the things I could taste that were horrible about it. I could literally taste the rancid oil from what they were frying it in. And they were like, really? But we still worked together. And no joke, a month after working with me and eating, like I said, this cleaner, real food-based ingredient, food, they went back to that restaurant and they could not eat there again. They said, oh, my gosh, you are so right. We can't eat here anymore.
Yeah.
So you really can change your taste buds, and never assume that just because you like something right now, that means you're going to like it, a year from now. Like, if you allow yourself to change and just give yourself the permission to kind of take that foot off the gas for just a little bit, you'll find that you can take, your body, your taste buds, your flavor profile can change greatly. It's just amazing.
Wonderful and very inspirational, giving us that direction of, if we're in that space, let's go for it. Well, we're about out of time, but I do want to touch on your pillars of health, because before we started recording, we were talking briefly about sleep. And I know that you have some really powerful things to say. So let's go ahead and head that direction and give our listeners an extra little benefit for taking one step further into their health journey.
Yeah, no, thank you for asking. This is something I personally struggle with. I mean, I think if you're working with any health practitioner and they say, "Oh, I'm perfect, I don't struggle with," then you are working with the wrong person. You're working with someone that's not being honest, because we all struggle.
Yes.
We all have our good days and our bad days, and we're all doing the things that we're doing for a reason. And I think, I do what I do because I have struggled with things, and I continue to struggle with things, but I learn, and I'm passionate about that learning, and that's what enables me to then help teach it. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't have, continual issues. And mine, that's been a very long-standing theme, is sleep. And you mentioned the pillars of health. So I look at the pillars of health as, if I were to pick 4 things, okay, these are the 4 top parts that I would be looking at health-wise if you were anyone that wanted to kind of change your life. As I would look at what you're eating, I would look at how you're moving your body, so exercise. I would look at the stress in your life, and when I say eat, I mean drinking as well, so water and food, exercise, and then I would look at stress. What stress is something that's very serious, and we have to remove things from our lives that are causing stress. And then the 4th one is sleep, and it's one that I think is not talked about enough. Because if you're someone who's, let's say, trying to lose weight, you cannot lose weight if you're not getting enough sleep. If you're someone who's trying to get fit, you cannot get fit if you're not getting enough sleep. So many, and then actually really the sleep is kind of the one that connects you to all the other pillars. Because if you're not getting enough sleep, you're going to be more stressed out. You're not going to have the know-how to, you're not going to have the kind of the groundedness to process the things in your day, and they will probably result in causing you more stress because you're so overtired. So, sleep is really what connects you to the rest of your life. And I think I don't think it's talked about enough, and people kind of sidestep it. Oh, I'm saying this, and I'll be the first to admit that last night I went to bed at midnight. You know what I mean? Like I didn't go to sleep. I didn't at a good time, because if you go to sleep after 10, you're not going to get as restful of a night as if you went to bed before 10.
Yep.
And then I have 2 young kids, and then one of them wakes me up at 4:30 or 5 every day. So that means if I go to bed at midnight, I'm only getting 4 or 5 hours sleep, if that, and it's not necessarily restful sleep. So yeah, it's one I'm constantly struggling with, and I wish I had some solid advice to be like, okay, this is how you get more sleep. The only kind of thing that I've found that works for me is I just need to commit to the choice. I need to commit to the choice of times that it's worked. It works best when I actually go to bed early. If I go to bed by 9:30, that's the kind of magic time for me. If I go to bed by 9:30, I find that everything else falls into place. I eat better the next day. I process anything that's stressful in that day better, and I exercise. My exercises, I feel stronger during them, and I feel like I'm able to recover from them easier. But 9:30 seems to be like that kind of magic time for me. And I would just offer that you try to find what is your magic time, But I guarantee it's not 11, it's not midnight, it's not 1, and it's not 2. I guarantee it's just not.
Our circadian rhythms, they just work on the earlier times. Well, and many of our listeners that have listened for a long time know sleep has been a struggle for me most of my life until about the past year. I turned 30
what did
last
you change?
year. Well, I hit my 30s. And so all of a sudden I could feel a difference in my body, and I've always been that overachiever, go, go, go. I mean, my whole life I ran off 3 and 4 hours of sleep, and all of a sudden I couldn't do it. And especially I have a severe case of scoliosis, and I truly could not function. The pain in my body would be excruciating, and it shifted my mindset into, if you do not plug your batteries in, like your phone, and charge it, you will not function tomorrow. And you know what happens to your phone if you don't charge it? It's going to run out probably before you're ready for it to run out. And then you're in a pickle. And that's exactly how our bodies are. Like you said, you don't eat as well, you don't train as well, you don't recover as well, you don't bring your best self to business or family or relationships. And so for me, the secret is I now have a shut off button. I have an alarm in my phone that goes off. You're going to laugh what it says, but it says, go to bed now so you sparkle tomorrow. And
dude, I love that.
Because I want a sparkle. I don't want to be dull. I don't want to be half living. And now in my past self, I would have said if there was a pressing work project or something, I would have done it and made it happen. And now I put so much effort into the proper priorities and, delegation and things. Like some people would say I'm OCD about it, but doing so has allowed me the space and the peace of mind to never let any of those things happen. And if something comes up urgent, my favorite go-to phrase is, a lack of planning on your part does not make an emergency on my part. Good night. And that's it. And so I'm not perfect, but I'm learning and really working on it because it does make a difference for me.
Well, you're going to like this. So my wife, Margaret, the functional nutritionist, she has a quote that I love, and I think this is a great applies to what we're saying. She says, the imperfect plan you'll follow is better than the perfect plan you won't. So the imperfect plan you'll follow is better than the perfect plan you won't. So I think
is that her quote?
That is her quote, yeah. She came up with that.
Okay, we'll throw her name on that one. That's great.
Yeah, it's such a good one, and it's on the Facebook page now. But it's definitely, I think that encapsulates what we're talking about. Is that people are constantly thinking they have to wait for the perfect moment to start these things, or all the balls have to be in a row to go down a certain path. And I'm fully admitting that I don't have sleep down. I haven't figured it out. But I do know that I feel better when I do this. And so if I can just make the choice to say, okay, I have had a hard day today, but today I'm going to go to bed at 9:30, then that's one step closer to starting to achieve the goals I need. But you just have to make the choice. You have to be willing to do it when things aren't perfect.
Yep, you nailed it. Well, this has been such an enjoyable conversation. So many insights. I'm excited to continue applying my own journey of, my taste buds and really trying to acclimate them to the natural things. And so thank you for sharing that. Go ahead and tell us more about where we can find you online. Like I did mention to our listeners, we will link up everything that Chef James was about to say here.
Yeah, thank you. So as I mentioned earlier, our website is called eatnakednow.com. And there's tons of free information on there, and recipes and cooking videos and lots of nutritional support. Highly recommend checking that out. And we have a Facebook page, which is the same name, or you can put in the search engine, you can just say, take it all off. That will lead you to our website. And then you can find me on, and then you can find Margaret is on Instagram as Eat Naked Now. You can find me as Chef James Berry. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, Pinterest, and it's all some variation of either Eat Naked Now or Chef James Berry. But definitely check us out. We're very consistent with putting out lots of content, and I hope you'll if you see it, you'll deem it to be good, helpful content, because that's our intention.
Yeah.
That's our main stuff. And then we have two books out. There's one called Eat Naked, and that's more of a kind of nutrition. It's a book. It's a really amazing book that Margaret wrote. I did the recipe section of that book, but that book really boils down some main points towards getting kind of your health on track, and it's very digestible, very readable. Highly recommend checking that out. And then we had a follow-up cookbook, and it's all 100% gluten-free recipes. I think it's something like 170 or more, and that one's called the Naked Foods Cookbook.
Wonderful. Well, we sure appreciate your time and knowledge and being willing to share it with us. So continue to wish you that success moving forward. And we say here at Body Buddies, we say go empower your body.
Thank you so much for having me, Christopher.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes. You can learn more about Body Buddies and Power Foods Lifestyle by going to www.body-buddies.com, BODY-BUDDIES.com, and powerfoodslifestyle.com. That's www.powerfoodslifestyle.com.
Information in this episode is provided for informational purposes and is not meant to substitute the advice provided by your own physician or other medical professional. Information and statements regarding dietary supplements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.